The Pear Affair, Chapter 26. Niamh was on her feet, twirling her plaits as though they were a pair of lassos. This is your chance, Colette. You can investigate the whole thing, write the story up, blow everyone's cover. Shazam, said Zav, and Paul and Paulette cheered. But the editor isn't here. I need approval first. Colette seemed to shrink in the face of their enthusiasm. The anxious look had crept back into her eyes. Stuff the editor, scoffed Satine. Just do it. But Colette chewed the end of her pencil. Colette, come on, Paulette implored. What's the thing you're always going on about? Demanded Emile. Where everyone wants to be the first to break the news? A scoop, said Colette. It'd be the scoop of the century, said Niamh. The scoop to end all scoops, agreed Zav. Do you think I could? Colette sat up a little straighter. She stopped chewing her pencil and made a few tentative scribbles on her notepad. This is Le Monde, said Niamh. She swept her arm out, taking in the banks of typewriters and telephones. We can tell the story to the whole of France, maybe the whole world. Oh, Colette, you can do that, can't you? If the editor found out you didn't do it, that you let this story slip through your fingers, then you'd be in trouble, added Satine. Colette, who had started scribbling frantically, stopped and looked up. The uncertain look had vanished, and something determined gleamed in her eyes. Yes, you're right, I can do it. I have to do it, she said, and she tapped the gobbledygook decisively with her pencil. We've got this as solid evidence. And I've got pictures, said Paulette, of the Fantastique Factory. And then everyone started chattering at once, suggestions coming thick and fast. Colette must talk to Emile about being tricked into smashing up the Cordine den, and to the Bernards about being made homeless, and to Ben Amours about what it felt like when the thing struck. No one noticed how quiet Nell was, that she hadn't said a word. The truth was, her head was spinning. It was a good idea, but Melinda and Gerald were planning to leave France tomorrow. They were expecting to meet her at the Gare du Nord at 10 o'clock, and the mayor was waiting too. If she didn't give him Melinda and Gerald's whereabouts, he was going to arrest Pear. Getting Colette to write the story was a brilliant idea, but it wasn't enough. If she could somehow get the bag and the mayor and her parents in the same place at the same time, perhaps she could stop them, stop the thing, and save Pear. She would have to go back to the house in Corvair. She could lead the mayor to her parents would be waiting for her, and the world would be watching. If the mayor was apprehended, the threat of the warrant might be lifted, and Pear, wherever she was, could come back. I've got an idea, she burst out, making everyone jump. Yes, Colette, you must do the scoop, but we all have to work together. Emile, can you rally the Belleville lot? Satine, will you tell your family and the Bernards we need their help? Colette, can you make a copy of this gobbledygook? And Niamh, it's finally time for you to go to the police. They were looking at her and they were nodding in agreement, and for a brief moment she experienced a wonderful sense of control. Tell everyone they must be at the Gare du Nord at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Get all the children in Paris down there if you can, and every baker, whether they are still in business or not. Together we can catch them all red-handed. That will be the scoop. And you, she turned to Colette, will be there to cover it. In the fading sunlight, the tips of Xavier's hair blazed red like sparks of fire. Everyone else had gone home. Zav said he would accompany Nell back to Corvair, but she didn't want to go yet. I've got to go to the theatre, Zav, she said, to find Coco Swan, ask her why Pear has left the country, and something else. She called me Minou. Why would she do that? As they hurried through the dusky streets to the theatre, Nell felt the faint stirrings of hope. She imagined Coco smiling with relief when she saw her. Her eyes would light up and she would tell Nell something important, something about Pear, something that would finally make sense. But when they turned into the little street, Nell's heart plummeted. The lights were off, the shutters down, the door to the theatre firmly shut. "Oh no," she wailed. She had no idea where Coco lived, and there was no one to ask. "'Cause it's Sunday, I expect," said Zav. "We'll come back tomorrow." Nell tried to nod, but there was a coal-sized lump in her throat. Didn't Zav realise tomorrow might be too late? She knew that if her plan didn't work, she wouldn't be able to come back. She would be on the return train to London and the dreaded summer's end, and an unhappy ever after with Melinda and Gerald. "You hungry?" asked Zav, rattling his pockets. "I've got loads of tips. Let's go to Charty. It's where Grandpa and I go for our birthdays. That'll cheer you up." But even though the restaurant was charming, all high ceilings and glowing lamps, Nell's anxiety lingered, even though they sat in the upstairs gallery, the perfect place to observe the frenetic activity below, and even though Zav ordered prawns in a Mary Rose sauce, followed by steak and frites, and then a giant chocolat lichiwa crammed with ice cream, cream and rich chocolate sauce. A gnawing feeling remained in the pit of Nell's stomach. Under the table, she crossed both fingers. "Please, please let everything go to plan tomorrow. Please don't let anything go wrong." Much later, Nell followed Zav along a tangle of cobbled streets, through a hole in a bricked wall to a tiny patch of shrubbery. The street lamp cast a luminous glow on the straggly grass, picking out the secret gleam of a manhole. Like thieves in the night, they slipped underground, and following Zav's spidery diagram, finally came to the ladder and the steps leading up to the cellar. Just as they had expected, two dark figures were still slumped in the kitchen table, wheezing noisily. Silently, Nell and Zav crept past them and made their way up the stairs to the garret at the top of the house. Nell dug in her pocket and passed Zav the keys she had taken from the cigarette holder the day before. She was acutely aware that if things didn't go right, she might never see or speak to him again. "Lock me in and then put these back on her belt," she said, her voice low. "All right," he whispered. For a minute they stood together in the quietness of the house. They were a good team, Nell thought. She reached out and squeezed Zav's arm gratefully. "Good luck then," said Zav softly. "See you tomorrow." A brief hug, a moment of warmth, and then he was gone, and the key was turning in the lock, and Nell was alone.